have the pleasure of sitting down with Jeff Hinman, photography extraordinaire, woodworker, and coach, if I'm saying that correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean,
tell me about your business.
Right? What's that saying? Master of none, or what? How does it work? I don't know.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, no.
Right. Not with you.
Yeah. First off, thanks for having me, Levi. I appreciate your invite. Love hanging. I haven't seen you in a while, so I thought it'd be a good time to catch up. Yeah, I've been a photographer for about 7 years, and I mainly focus on architectural photography, landscape photography, and drone photography. Those are the three I niched out and so far out.
And you sell those too, right? Like
a
gallery or
whatever. Yeah, I sell prints. I've been able to, been fortunate to be able to sell prints worldwide, actually. So,
wow,
46 countries, whatever you want to call. Just marketing, man. If you're a good marketer, you can as long as you get something in front of someone's eyes and they want it. I mean, you can get it, right?
Well, the quality of work makes a difference.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
you're an amazing photographer.
Thanks,
and I noticed you got. I mean, I know I pay attention to what I can, but you got into woodworking and you're doing some really cool things.
Yeah, I've been doing some pretty cool things. I mean, woodworking, I've been doing that for about 2 years now, so that's my tree to tail, because every tree has a tale to tell.
I love that. I love that. And what kind of stuff are you building?
Building crib boards, charcuterie boards for all those women out there, like all the wives, like come on, charcuterie night, so and then it kind of elevated, and I really love crib, so like I really was making custom crib boards. Like I made Brett Kissel's personal crib board.
Oh no way!
Yeah, that was pretty cool to kind of be part of that project.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I know that. I didn't see that one.
I don't think I posted it, or maybe I didn't tell anyone. I mean, I'm not really good at promoting myself in that sense either.
Yeah, right.
But
that's awesome.
So it was a lot of fun. And then just like my philosophy, man, hang with the right people, make rad shit. It's actually tattooed on my leg. I believe in it so much.
Hang with the right people, make rad shit.
It's actually tattooed in my leg.
Oh no,
I'm dead serious.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I believe in it that much. It's on me, man. And that's the philosophy in life, I think, how it should be. It's like you shouldn't be chasing money, you should be chasing experiences. You should be rich in experiences, because when you die, do you really want all those regrets and be a billionaire, or do you want make it in life, like, man, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, and it's like, man, my life was full of things.
That's the experiences are, and the journey.
Yeah.
Either way, I mean, money is part of being in business.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, I always said the same thing. If you're just in it and focused only on the money, it really won't pan out.
No, because you're just going to be...
maybe if you're in finance or something. But
I mean, I'm not.
but yeah, like as an entrepreneur, you have to be passionate about what you do. And then you're doing coaching as well, or tell me more about...
Yeah, so coaching, this is part of the men's wellness health program, whereas we're trying to get men back on their feet one day at a time, and I'm the recreational coach. Nice. And there's a physical coach, mindfulness coach, lifestyle coach, an actual clinical therapist as well. So it's going to be a pretty cool journey, man. I mean,
you're a busy dude.
I don't sit still. Like sitting still is not meant for me. So.
I can't believe you do all of those things though. Like it's been a while since
I've seen you, man. Last time I talked with you, I think I was just a photographer last time I've seen you. So like I've been doing photography for 7 years, woodworking for 2, and this coaching thing's been about, I'd say, half a year to a year.
Yeah, I think it's been like 3 years since we've actually just chatted.
Yeah,
like
maybe
actually
passing, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And that's when I seen these. I was like, man, let's just chat. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah. That's the whole. So what even got you because you mentioned off camera you were in the trades.
Yeah, it's 14 years.
And all of a sudden it's like
So this is what happened.
Entrepreneurial road.
So this is what happened. So I was sitting there. So I was a structural welder. It was my final trade, or welding, what I call it.
Yep.
And I was sitting there one day, and I was talking to an apprentice, and I was just like, I really don't want to go back to work. And I started realizing I was coasting for about a year now.
Yeah.
So I was only chasing a paycheck. I wasn't actually being fulfilled. I wasn't being inspired, and I wasn't happy. So I was like, fuck this. I'm out. I need to chase my happiness. And then I knew I wanted to be a photographer. I just didn't know how it was gonna be, because I've never touched a camera until I actually touched a camera. Yeah. So my mom bought me a camera. Thank you, Mom, because if it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't be a photographer. On my birthday, and then 4 months later, I started a company. I just tried to monetize it and kind of went what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a photographer. I was like, I want to be a photographer full time. So how's that work? I was like, okay, you need to make money, right? How's that work?
Pay my bills.
I gotta pay my bills. Okay, so have rent. I got all those things. So I was like, okay, So now I'm sitting here going, what do I like to do? Because if I'm going to be a photographer, I want to have a really healthy lifestyle balance on top of that. Because I don't want to be drummed down by 14-hour days, making good money, but miserable. So I really had to think about it. And I was like, I love hiking. I love being in nature. I'm like, I'll just be a landscape photographer. So like I brought my camera everywhere, every hike I went on. And then I started creating these prints. And then they started creating traction. And then I would market them to countries that didn't have mountains.
Oh.
So we have mountains. So I would take pictures and I would just market them to countries that didn't have mountains. And I would start selling them.
Yeah, because
they're like, wow, what's
amazing.
going on here? Yeah. So I would just do the targeted ads and I would just be like,
dude, that's actually super smart.
You were going to get a mountain print, right? So that worked out pretty good. And then the first year kind of rolled through and I sold, I do know the exact number, but that's not really important. But I sold a lot of prints and I'm worldwide. And then I started going, okay, this has been a lot of fun. But I do know how trends are going to end. And cameras are getting better. Cell phones are getting better. And landscape photography will dim down. It's the hardest niche to get into because everyone's in it. And it's the hardest to sell because everyone does it. But it's actually one of the hardest to do, I think.
Oh, 100%.
From trying to capture the right amount of light or the focal length. Or
even just like the timing of the day.
Well, exactly. Weather, composition. It's like, I'm going for sunrise. You look out, it's like, oh, it's raining.
Yeah, okay, not today.
No, not today. There's one photo, actually. It's actually on the back of my wall for when I have my meetings and I coach. It's a big sunset. It took me 40 times to get that because the train track bridge. The sun had to come through right in the one side of it, and every single time I went out to it, it was like in between it. It wasn't where it needed to be. I did that shot 40 times. I actually put a stake in the ground and I spray painted it blue so I could come back to that spot every night. Yeah, and just try and do it. It took me 40 times to do it.
It's actually funny. And not necessarily relatable, but this is way back in the day. Now I'm aging myself, but I used to read a lot. This guy named Scott Kelby. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah, he has 5 books.
Yeah. He was really inspiring in that time frame. But I actually remember a line he had because he was always talking about actually like architectural and landscape photography in particular. In this line that I remember, and he said, like, just take a step left or a step right. And I remember the line because it's so powerful, right? It's like talking about whether it's the bridge or whether you're traveling and, taking a picture of whatever, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's like everybody always takes the photo like, here I am, bam, snap. And it's like, it's crazy what a step to the left, a step to the right, a crouch down or whatever can all of a sudden change the entire dynamic of that piece.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was pretty powerful, but I mean, and
it is. So like when I first started photography too, I'm backtracking a little bit. I did teach landscape photography for a little bit because I figured if those who can't do teach, right?
Those who can't do teach.
So I was like, okay, and that's actually one of the things I said: take your photo and take a diamond or hexagon and go to a point there, shoot there, go shoot there.
Oh, cool.
Go all the way around just to kind of think because you will leave with a photo, but it wasn't the first one.
Yeah. No, and I mean that. Well, actually, what you said about the teaching part, I think. But you know what's changed? Because I think that used to be the case for sure. But I'm kind of inspired now by the fact that like there's actually a lot of entrepreneurs, whatever field they're in. They're actually taking the time to teach. So
they're giving back, right?
Yeah, like they weren't teachers in the beginning, and I think that's kind of like a pretty interesting distinction to me. Like, those who can't teach, generally, it was like, well, I've never really done this, but I'm going to teach about it. But there's actually now like a pretty big growing community, at least online from what I see, of like actual people that are in the field that are now actually coming out with training programs and stuff, and those are the ones that are valuable because they were in the trenches. Like
they've dug out all the bugs. I mean, they pretty much made a problem-free course for you to walk through and be like, oh, don't do this. You saved them like years of heartache or just hardship. Like, if I would have known that, like, but you know what though? What's really fun about that is when you go through the grit, when you go through the trenches, you learn it, and it's embezzled in you, right? It's just like it's part of you, and you go, okay. So now it's framing to the person you need to be. So now you're actually a lot smarter than 3 years ago, right? You're going, okay, I will never do that ever again.
Yep.
But I wish I could tell someone that. So you're like, I want to help people. And I do. I love helping people. So I have lots of people reach out to me like, man, how'd you shoot that shot to Milky Way? I was like, well, first off, it was like a clear night, moonless.
Yeah.
Make sure you have a fast lens, which is like a low f-stop,
Yeah.
right? And just make a decent camera with ISO capability.
Yeah.
And then you can go one far, you can get a star tracker. So that
cool.
the actually Earth access. So you actually don't get star trails.
Nice.
Yeah. So like, but then they're like, man, you told me that. I'm like, well, just go do it. Like,
yeah.
I told. See,
well, but
right?
but that's the thing, right? Even with, I can't remember where I read this, but it was actually around woodworking, to be honest. Just because I have a small, not as entailed as you, but a small passion for it. But yeah, one of the things that I was reading was, people discussing on the fact that like, these guys that are doing super talented work are showing their process and essentially giving away exactly how to make these tables or how to, whatever the construction project might be, or artistic project. And it was funny. It's like something like 97% of people will actually never do it, and so.
But you get those 3%, man.
No, but the point being was like the content, creating that kind of content and giving it away, actually resonates with the community that you're actually going to end up selling to, because you're providing value, like, and you're showing the process, and you're kind of like humanizing what it is someone is ultimately going to buy. And yeah, there's going to be a sliver of people that are going to be like, you know what, like Jeff showed me how to do that. Now I'm going to go do it.
Go do it.
And
I mean, have at it.
Way to go, right? Like,
have at it.
But so like people are kind of like afraid of like the competition.
Yeah.
But you can't be like, it's okay to give away. I mean, obviously there's some trade secrets that nobody wants to give away. I get that.
But at the end of the day, man, if you Google like epoxy woodworking, you can go on a YouTube video and do what I do.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you just got to make the time. You have to want to do it, and you have to spend the money to make the mistake.
Yeah, because you
are gonna fuck up. Absolutely. I fucked up so much shit. I was like, okay, so you're not gonna get this coffee table in time. They're like, why? Well, I fucked it up.
Yeah.
It's not happening. We're gonna have to report. But it's just like things you learn, right?
Yeah.
And then first off, I started on small things to make sure I knew what I was doing. But as soon as I went to the bigger things, I did. Oh, we're all human. I make mistakes.
Yeah. My wife, I guess it would have been, I'm thinking maybe it was 2 months ago, maybe a little longer. Anyway, she shows me this like cute little canopy bed for our daughter.
Yeah.
And she's like, can you make that? And I'm like, well, I've never made that, but I'll give it a whirl. And like the first iteration was like an absolute disaster. Like it actually literally fell apart. Because I was trying to do these different connections and it wasn't working, and then I remember like I'm by myself, probably similar to you, so no one's helping me, and I'm trying to hold like this structure while doing glue ups and screwing things together, and it literally fell apart and broke while I was holding it.
Oh no!
And I was like,
that sucks.
What the heck? But the point being is like you had to rethink the entire build and process and be like, okay, maybe I need to use this kind of wood or this, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And so it's funny, like it isn't going to necessarily save you money early on, at least.
No, but it's going to help you in the long run, because now I'm doing dining room tables. Like
right.
I just shipped a dining room table to the States, right?
That's so cool.
It was 8 feet. So like if I just started off doing those, I would have fucked them all.
Yeah. And you would have lost way more money.
Oh yeah, way more money. But that's what helps you like learn.
Yeah.
Right? Just like anything, right?
Yeah.
Just like photography, you go and snap a couple things, and then maybe you come home and you go look at the photo, you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. And then you'll know for next time. So if you like, sometimes I think these courses are beneficial, but they're also you don't have the gratitude of the fact that you went through the trench to learn it. So it's not really instilled with you. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, just don't do that. They'll be like, okay, I think Jeff told us not to do that, but then they're gonna go do that because they never actually experienced the failure in it too, right?
Yeah.
Because you need the failure, right?
Oh, seriously, I talk. Probably my most recent story that I think would resonate with exactly what you're talking about. So, I love like lead generation stuff. I'm business minded, so I'm always trying to find like ways where we can help businesses get customers, right? And I see this course online that kind of was talking about, because it was kind of through COVID, and it's basically talking about how to set up your business to kind of be recession proof and generate leads. And it wasn't a cheap course; it was freaking 10 grand American. And so I'm like, screw it, I'm doing it. I'm diving down the rabbit hole, and I pay for it. And immediately after going through the course, launched the first couple of ideas that I learned from it. And it was funny. I was like, I don't like this. Like, I don't like the setup of it, right? What I learned, I was like, something doesn't feel right about this. And on top of that course, then by doing this like lead gen stuff, I ended up probably losing like another 5 or 6 grand just on the mistakes that I was making. And when I figured those mistakes out, I was like, wait a minute, I actually don't want to do like 75% of what those guys were talking about.
Exactly.
But the 25% here was like really interesting to me. And boom, like put the focus and energy into that 25%. And in like 6 months, it was like we were actually doing exactly what I wanted to do for companies.
Perfect, though, right?
Moral of the story, though, was like, I took this course that ultimately, was the end all be all of how to do something. And so I guess the lesson for me was like, it's okay to spend the money and not necessarily have to like fit in the box that they're describing, because every situation is different, and the way that your mindset works, even the culture of your business, can be totally different. And so it was still worth it. That was kind of like the takeaway. It's like, just because I didn't do what they said didn't mean that the course wasn't worth it.
You still able to take those little nuggets, right? You took some nuggets and then you made it work for you. Because like not everyone fits into the same box, is what you're saying, right? Absolutely. If you try to fit into the same box, you're gonna fuck yourself. Because you're never gonna defend yourself from being someone else, or you're just gonna be like, oh, Jeff's just that box. Yeah, I seen that last year. He's just that box. You need to have that with your own flair. That's what's being true to yourself.
Well, and that comes even through the stuff you do. That comes through like your artistic abilities, right? Again, there's woodworkers, talking about the woodworking side, like there's woodworkers everywhere around the world that you're, quote unquote competing with, if you want to call it that.
I say competition. Cooperation is actually what I say.
There you go.
Because be able, like, I might be able to do something good, but then this guy does this something. So then we come together. Like, I've had woodworkers actually. The woodworking community is actually really amazing.
Yeah, it is.
They're always willing to help you, and they're like, they'll ask the questions, and they're blunt, and then they're not surprised when they're so surprised when like you answer them. They're like, I'm like, what? Like, that's so kind of you to actually help me out here. And then they'll be like, hey, how'd you do that on the crib board? I'm like, oh, I just did this and this. Like, oh, I never would have thought of that. Like, it's just like, it's a big community.
Yeah, like, and they're not afraid to share.
No, like I share everything.
They're excited to actually be like, hey, like, did you try this, or have you tried? Yeah, it's actually pretty cool.
I really enjoy that. I really enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie.
So you've grown one photography business now for 7 years. It's a pretty amazing thing. Yeah,
it's been fun.
You're doing the woodworking side for a couple of years and selling your stuff around the world now.
Yeah.
Also cool.
I guess. Moving on up.
Because I think what inspires me about you, and what you just even said, is like you weren't bound by the Lethbridge box. Let's call it that. Right? It doesn't matter what city you live in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But like you were thinking way beyond how I'm going to sell this to people in my community. Talking about even your photography, right? It's like, I'm going to take pictures of mountains and sell them to places that don't have mountains.
Yeah, see, so every photographer out there, hey, if you're listening, that's a good tip. It worked for me.
It's true, right? But it's like, that's brilliant. And same with, there's so many aspects of that. As busy as you are, what are like, and again, you don't have to share anything you're not comfortable sharing, but like,
I'm open book, bro.
But like, what did you have a time in your journey so far, like real deep battle, like something you had to overcome that you're like, man, I don't know if this is gonna work out?
I would say so. Like, this is what kind of happened. So like, when I love being a photographer. I love creating things, and I love like creating someone's vision and putting like my flair on it, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm just helping direct your show, right? It's your show. I'm just helping you direct it. When I started my woodworking company, I was very hesitant on how much time this was going to take away from being a photographer.
Okay.
And I had a big battle. And when I started becoming popular in the woodworking community, where it's like, okay, people were like, okay, I want to buy this off you. I want to buy this off you. And I'm like, okay, how much time in a day do I have to improve my photography and grow my photography? Because that's what I truly, absolutely love doing.
Yeah.
Creating, and landscape photography is like by far my favorite. If I could travel the world and just sell prints out of a van, I would. But you can't because everyone has these now. Everyone has a phone. Yeah. So like that diminishes it. And I saw that trend happening. And that's why I got into architectural photography. I used my trades background to help leverage the contacts I had already currently because I have sub-trade for all these people.
Yep.
I said, hey, I'm a photographer now. I'm flipping the script. I'll still be on the jobs, but now I'm going to help you on the marketing side.
Cool.
So I knew that was kind of happening. I was noticing the trend.
So you were basically learning how to compete against just all these digital devices that were in everybody's pocket, and they were getting better and better,
and they're amazing.
Not to mention apps.
Yeah,
like
there's so
forget
many
just the phone. It's like the apps are becoming incredibly good at creating stuff and enriching a photograph and doing things. It's like it's wild.
Yeah,
it's a wild time.
You used to have to go buy an ND filter and do a long exposure, and now I think there's a long exposure app on your cell phone. So I was like, what's the point? I have this $300 ND filter that goes across my lens and stop time. If those are people don't know, like long exposure, like your shutter stays open longer, so the the water going through or wind or wisping in a cornfield or whatever. So it's just to create the emotion. Yeah. But you can do that with it's a slow shutter app now. It's literally called the slow shutter app. I'm like, see, I'm already calling it. I'm gonna lose my job here.
But it's true. It's funny though because it's true. Like you. Just even as a hobbyist photographer, you can spend. I mean, you can drop easy $10,000 on a couple of good lenses, a camera body, and some filters.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And now it's like, now I can buy a phone for like, I don't know, like $1,500, and that would be on the high end side, even probably for like a good iPhone or a good Samsung or whatever. And now it's like, hey, I'm just gonna download a couple of these like $30 apps, and I can do this now.
Well, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. So I was sitting at one of the, the dinner, one of the dinners, the gala dinner, and I was sitting there this year. I got invited to go, and I'm sitting there, and the guy's like, "Hey, you're the guy that takes pictures of the bridge." I was just like, "Yeah." So he pulls out his Galaxy Plus or whatever it is, and he's like, "What do you think of this photo?" I was like, "Oh, that's sick." He's like, and he showed me, he's like, "Well, let's see some of yours." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Actually, I like mine better." I was like, "It's all good, man." Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we kept in contact, and he was like, "I blew it up." I was just like, "Oh, right on." He blew it up huge from a phone. I was like, "See, I called it." I'm like saying in my head, I'm like, "This is how landscape photography will be diminished because this is what it can do." Yep. And I've accepted that. Yep. That's the thing, though. Like people in business need to know that there's always going to be adaptation, and you need to figure out what's going on. Especially if you're in a huge niche, so saturated, but it's eventually going to diminish. Yeah, well, there's change. I would say there's change for sure. Yeah, not diminish. That's a very strong word. I'd say it's going to adapt where it's going to be harder to sell prints to people. But even I mean, again, the way I'm internalizing your comment, like you're not wrong in that it's diminishing, but it's also adapting in a different way. Like the change that really had happened was you're now a lot more people could contribute to that kind of photography in this case. Yeah. And sure, I mean, there's plenty of people that are taking crappy photos, even with good phones and even with good cameras for that matter. It can happen to both of them. Yeah, it can happen to everybody. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like it just opened up like the possibilities for people to do things that they probably wouldn't have been able to do in the past. Because again, the barrier to entry was harder, right? Absolutely. And that I get that. Like, even in my industry, it's like someone technically can buy a computer, download a few programs, and call themselves a marketing expert. It can happen, right? Absolutely. And that's like what I have to contend with. It's a frustrating battle because you're like, it's not that I don't want them to succeed. I actually do want them. You just want them to not put a bad name in the industry, right? Because then it just downgrades the industry, right? Because then those companies end up buying services from sometimes those people,
they get a bad taste in their mouth because it wasn't to the level that
The
that
caliber
person
what
said they
needed,
could
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And so now they paint that same brush when they come to people that are really good at what they do.
Yeah, they're hesitant.
Yeah, and they become hesitant. And that's like you're having to kind of convince them all over again to be like, hey man, like this is going to be different. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge that I'm in my business that I'm facing right now is you know, dealing with global stuff like hiring abroad, right, overseas, because the cost to hire a lot of those people abroad is substantially cheaper.
Yeah.
But
the VAs, right?
Yeah,
now
but with that
VA
comes
now,
communication barriers.
Time
AI,
time zones,
yeah.
right?
AI, like I'm fascinated with AI. Like
it is insane.
I am so in love with
Robots are going to be photographers.
Like,
no time.
But it's like I see so much opportunity in it.
Oh yeah, it's very cool.
And yet I've talked to like a bunch of guys lately, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like it's the end of the world." And I'm like,
"No, it's just evolution."
No, man. Like these right now, these tools are literally going to help people do things at a pace that they've never been able to do it, and save themselves enormous amounts of time. To kind of going back to what you said right at the beginning of our conversation, like you're gonna be able to dedicate more time to the things that you love. That could mean that you could condense your workday. Just to say it, like if you're working 8 hours a day, and you can use components of artificial intelligence to break that down to 4. At the end of the day, it's not that AI is doing all the work for you. It's that it's taking the information of, let's say, the artist and assisting you in.
It's helping you out, right? Because like most artists, like I mean myself, I can't write worth shit.
Yeah.
I can't. I can draw, I can paint, but when it comes to like actually writing,
Yep.
punctuation's awful, periods are never there, and it doesn't make fucking sense. I'm using the wrong there are or there. So if a robot could help me on that, that'd be great.
You're
so
like,
if I don't sound like a moron, that'd be awesome.
Oh man, yeah, it's totally true. I mean, there's so much out there. It's gonna be a wild ride.
It's gonna be crazy, man.
Yeah.
That Chat GPT alone, right? And then Google came out with another one to counteract it, right?
Yep.
So like now it's gonna be a battle of AI.
Yeah.
So what makes ChatGPT was insane. So I was sitting there with a home builder at a networking event in Calgary.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there and he's like, "Have you ever heard of ChatGPT?" I was like, "No, what is it?" And he pulls it out and he's just like, "I am looking for an experienced carpenter." And it was just like, and it like wrote a thing.
Yeah.
Like he's like, "Here, it's done. I just posted it." I was just like, "What?" I'm like, well, hold on. What, you need to show me this again.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I am an architectural photographer. And we're looking like, all of a sudden it goes, and it like pops up, and I'm blown.
It's in the prompts, and I mean, I've been fascinated with AI for probably, I don't know, like 3 years now.
Yeah.
Dipping my toes into whatever I can, and
it's pretty neat, man.
My advice to people is just like get with the like.
Just understand it.
Use it exactly how it's like. Even in the word, I mean, there's all kinds of software out there, not just ChatGPT, but the name says it all, chat. And so what's cool is like I've been talking to people and they're like putting in like that singular prompt, being like, oh, like write me this, and it spits it out. And obviously, you got to fine tune it for yourself.
Because sometimes it's so sophisticated.
But that's the end for them.
That's
and I'm like, that's not the end. Yeah. Like where you can get really cool with AI is do that, and then be like, now elaborate on this paragraph, explain more, and have that chat so it's building out like the entire framework. The kind of content that you can grab from that, right? It's unbelievable.
Storyboarding just became so much easier.
But even from the research perspective, because that's what it comes down to. It's like, I can write a story about Lethbridge, but I may not know like a bunch of these different components. And what you can do with those systems is actually ask for that information within what you're wanting, and it's going to pull that data and save you enormous amounts of research time.
Absolutely. And the right time too, because you got to be careful when you're researching things that they're actually right.
Right.
Because AI is always right, because it's taking it from like documented data, not these forums. He's taking it from like actual documented data. So they've been doing this for years, right?
It's amazing. It's gonna be. That's why I say, and one, it's about to get connected to the internet. You know, obviously Google's going to roll theirs out in I think 2 weeks now.
I think it's start of March or whatever. Bard or Baird.
Bard. Yeah. And cool, I mean, it's going to be beta for a closed group, but I mean, by the end of this year, it's going to be really interesting how everything just starts to evolve, because once it is connected to that capability, now you're dealing with real time data too, right? And it's just going to be but yeah, I mean, who knows what comes of it, but I'm excited for it. That's for darn sure. Well, I mean, it'll save me time.
Right. I mean, and just anyone, like you said, if you want something written up, and then you can just fine tune it, at least, or just to get an idea, just to create a concept of oh yeah, okay, I like what he said there. I don't like what he said there, but I like that. So I'm going to go off that, and then at least you have it's pretty much it's your idea process. Right?
It's like the courses we were talking about. It's you may not value 100% of what it's spitting out, but it's you can take. I just did that this morning, literally this morning. So I had a meeting and we were talking about roles in the company, and this is how wild it was. So we're talking about roles in the company, and we're how do I identify gaps in where we may not have a person in place, or maybe there's some overlap in roles. Where maybe one person's doing too many jobs. And I literally went on and I showed him, I'm hey, check this out. And so just literally went to ChatGPT and I just typed, give me the critical roles in this industry for this type of business, assuming that there's this many current employees, and what should the critical roles be within the company. It literally gave me 12 perfectly named, and not just the title, but the job description of that individual in short form, and so he was blown away.
That's cool.
And he's that's insane. I'm hold on a second though. It gave you the blurb. Now let's ask it to actually give a full job description based off of that blurb, and all of a sudden it was these are their responsibilities, these are their tasks. And he looked at it, he's I couldn't have written that. It would have taken me months to even think about what I would want them to do. And he's yeah, there's a few things here that it's okay, that's not part of my business. I'm sure. But look what it spit out in a matter of seconds. And he's this is wild. So I think as I was coming here to meet up with you, it's I think he's just going to be a kid in the sandbox today, just playing and figuring out his roles.
Yeah. He's got a couple hours. He's all right, so Levi's got some interviews. I got to figure out what I actually have to do here.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah. Do you read lots, or do you podcast lots?
I used to read here and there, but my brain doesn't work well with words. So I'll read looking, and then it'll just drop down, and my brain just can't concentrate. But I do listen to books. I listen to about 50 to 60 books a year.
No shit.
A book a week, roughly.
Wow, that's impressive.
Amazon must love me because you're running out of those billable credits. It ain't cheap, but I mean, knowledge is power, though. Right?
Yo, totally.
And I read everything, from self-help books to philosophy to just anything, man. I like getting knowledge of stuff that I'm uncomfortable with, because when you get comfortable being uncomfortable, that's when you succeed.
Do you have a couple of your top favorites that you recall or remember the names of?
Top favorites? I do like the biography books. I like that one they did of Will Smith.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the name of it.
Fair enough.
But I do like it because it's kind of cool how you can see how they perspective, because everyone deems these celebrities as they're just Greek gods, right? They're all human and they came from somewhere. So it's kind of cool. Matthew McConaughey's book was really good.
Nice.
I can't remember it.
Oh, that's all right. I'm the same with songs. Any of that kind of stuff. Movies. I'll remember every scene from a movie.
Yeah,
but I'll never remember the title.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'm kind of the same way. I can feel the book. I can remember the entire thing. I know what they went through, but I can't remember what it's called.
My favorite, right? It's more business related, but my favorite right now, it's actually I recommend it to honestly anybody. It is called the 80-20 principle.
I've read it.
And
I've listened to it.
The fair enough, yeah.
Sorry, I gotta be.
I
don't read
I didn't read it.
I
watched
listened to it
it
because lots of those audiobooks actually cut out some of the stuff.
Yep.
Too, right?
Yep.
So like when I remember I was having a conversation with someone the other day. It was the subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
And by Mark Holden.
Yeah.
I
can't remember his name either, but
and I was like reading the book, and I'm like, sorry, I was listening to the book, and the guy read it. He's like, oh no, I wasn't in there. And I was just like, huh? And I'm like, oh, I know what they did here. Yeah, because they cut out the chunks, right?
Yep. Well, the 80-20 just blew my mind because he was talking about, well, he used Starbucks as an example, right? But basically being able to take like an item, putting it into this power curve formula that he had created, and actually determining what the highest price someone would pay for something for. Obviously, what the lowest price would also be the spectrum, and it actually changed. Like, it's literally changed my business.
Really? It is a good book.
Because and actually friends that I've like just talked to them about it. I've actually asked them, like, okay, you've been around for a while, like, tell me how many customers you've had in the past 3 years, and give me your total annual like sales figures for each year.
Yeah.
I've plugged it in there, come up with their different price points. We've implemented them, and their sales have literally gone.
Wow.
Just like I'm talking like instantly.
Yeah, that's cool, man. See, and that's what I mean, the knowledge. See, like Amazon, you got me, but I maybe got you. Yeah, I got the knowledge, right? Because like, you only get one billable credit a month. So I only get 12, so I have a lot more than. Yeah, I'm like, look at them, like, oh, this book's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can buy more credits. Looking at my Amazon bill, I'm like, man, what is going on here? I'm like, oh, Audible.
Yeah, good old Audible.
Yeah, Atomic Habits is a good book too.
Okay, what's that one about?
About creating habits to like take away from break to be more productivity.
Yeah.
Just mindfulness of where your space is, just understanding like where you're in the zone. Like it's a good book, man.
What's it called again?
Atomic Habits. I can text you. See, I have them all.
You have them in your phone.
I have them on my phone.
Yeah.
I know the author. By James Clear.
Atomic
Habits.
Okay.
By James Clear. It's a really good book. Purple Cow. I mean, Seth Godin.
Oh,
That's a classic,
yeah,
but it's so true.
That's
Purple Cow, right?
Yeah.
It's just the concept of like being different, and being different is what sets you apart from that they're getting out of the box.
Yeah.
Right.
Just trying different things and not being afraid. Like I say, the tips. Well, actually, here I'll ask you, because now you've been in business essentially. Because you did woodworking for you've been doing woodworking for 2 years, but it's all kind of so give or take 10 years, right? Is that fair to say? You've been like self-entrepreneur for about 10 years now, then, or
just
or
7,
8?
Just 7 years.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was adding the.
No. This is just I just added. So I've been photographer for 7 years, and then I just added a company, another one.
Within it, yeah, right. Okay. So 7 years.
Yeah.
What? Like, assuming you're giving advice to not only guys that are in business but maybe interested in getting into business, do you have any like your own from your own perspective tips that you would give somebody?
Be the most curious guy in the room, man, because you'll learn the most.
Ain't that the truth?
And it's very true, and it's very simple. Not the dumbest, because I don't like saying the dumbest, because no one's dumb. Just be the most curious, because if you're open to shed your ego and allow everything to make mistakes and learn, you'll achieve way faster than someone who thinks they're already, I already know how to do that.
Yep.
But do you? Like, I'm not the best photographer in the world, and I don't think I'm the best photographer in the world.
Even the best photographer in the world isn't the best.
No, he probably does. Because he's probably won awards saying he's the best photographer in the world. There is a point to where they're like, yeah, their head's the size of a balloon, hot air balloon. But yeah, no, yeah. If you're always willing to strip your ego and allowing yourself to make mistakes and learn, you'll truly be more successful in like your happiness and just in life in general, because you're able to make those mistakes on your own and allowing them in. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
Because your ego is not there.
Yeah.
If you have no ego, is like one of the worst things you can have, right? Because it either creates like boundaries, it creates like hierarchy in your mind, whereas like. I was trying to explain this program where we're the health wellness program where we're not talking down to you, we're talking to you.
Right.
We're meant to. We've gone through trauma. We've gone through this kind of concept. So we're talking to you. We're not telling you what to do. We're not judging you. We're talking with you.
I like that.
That's
and
kind of what I came up with. Yeah,
it's super true, because you're not wrong there. Like, curiosity leads to so many opportunities,
and it can help you learn.
asking questions, and most people, not everyone, but most people are pretty willing to share.
Yeah.
Like, especially in the entrepreneurial world, like, and
Oh, yeah.
like you said, even in woodworking communities, like,
Oh man, everything.
people are excited to actually sit down with you and say, hey, like, here's what I think. Here's what I would suggest. And again, you don't have to take it all of it.
No, just little tidbits.
But you take those tidbits and all of a sudden you can start applying it. I would say it, at least the tip for me, because the area that I always struggled was I was kind of more like flying by the seat of my pants a lot, especially in the early days. It was just kind of like, what's next, what's next, what's next?
Yeah.
And I never took time to plan, like really plan. And I would say probably in the last 2 years is where I actually sat down and said, okay, like, how do I want to execute these things? How are we going to build these out? What kind of systems do I need? Equipment, whatever that looks like, processes, procedures, to create just kind of like accountability for myself, and that for me made a big change for sure.
Accountability is huge, man. I do monthly goals. That's what I do for the print side, for architectural and woodworking. So I have 3 goals every month. I start every first of the month saying this is what I'll have on the 30th of every month, and it just changes, and it changes on the fact of the season and how fast and how busy I'm going to be. Right, because season right now, like after Christmas, not a lot of people are, you have to have your expectations like real.
Right.
I want to make 40 grand next month. That's not gonna happen. Yeah.
Well, and even consistency.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you have to do the same. Like the consistency in what you're doing matters.
Yeah.
If it's within the passion, like if it's attached to the passion of whatever you're trying to achieve, just like this series.
Yeah.
Like
this series is brilliant, by the way.
But seriously, like when I started it, and even my team could tell you that, like I literally said, I don't care if I get 1 like, I don't care if I get 1 share, I don't care if I get 1 comment, but we're going to do 52 of them.
That's sick, man.
And it was like, that's it. I don't care what happens in between there. We're doing 52 of them. Sure, we'll hit bumps in the road, whatever. But
it'll be worth
52 is the number that I'm like 100%, committed to, right? And after that, we'll see where it goes. And then, obviously, like the first couple came out and it was whatever. But what I learned was, all of a sudden, by having that mindset of, quite frankly, just like not caring. Like just not caring about,
not giving.
Because I was just like, all I care about is just. Well, I shouldn't say not caring. Maybe I'll replace that with, what I cared about was being able to talk to people and just chat.
It's a fireside chat, right?
Like no, not talking about sales, not talking about nothing. Just chat and learn from each other, and so that's the part I cared about. So I shouldn't say I didn't care, but I didn't care like whether it was going to be something that would become viral or blah, 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 blah. And I still don't care about that. But lo and behold, what's happened is like I've been running into more and more like business owners, and it's just been nice to hear that they appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, man, like it's so nice to learn. I didn't know that guy or I didn't know that girl. And like learning a little bit about them, like makes me want to go support their business or
just aware.
Just like
there's like-minded individuals in this city.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of I love Lethbridge. Like I work in Calgary a lot, but I love ending my Calgary shift and coming home to Lethbridge and going out and seeing 5 people I know.
Yeah.
Like I go to Hudson's a lot. Love their steak sandwich. Best steak sandwich probably in town, I'd say. Probably the best I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the community, but I see like 10 people there almost every single time I go there. I like that feeling. I don't like the fact you go to Calgary and like no one really, you're not really friends. And I love, and like one of my values in life is friendship and brotherhood.
Yeah.
Like my first one's positivity, and then continuous learning, and then friendship and brotherhood. Nope, sorry, positivity, friendship, brotherhood, and then continuous learning. Because without positivity, because there's shitty things that happen to you every single day. But if you can take a positive little nugget out of every single one of them, your mind will shift and it will attract all those positive points in the day, and it won't even make you think about it. And your mind will be in a set where you're always thinking positively. And I can thank my mom for that. My mom's always instilled positivity in my life, and she's always says that saying, it always could be worse. Well, I took it and it's instilled like all throughout my body, man. So like I can get beat down, but I can always find the little bit of positive from that crazy shit that happened to me. But I'm like, but it could be worse. I could have had that. So then your brain goes, oh, like you're not getting beaten down by it. You're going through the brick wall. The brick wall still comes up, but then you just go right through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of, well, maybe it's the wrong wording. I call it like it is what it is mentality. And similar to your story, I mean, my mom was super huge influence for me. I mean, so was my dad, but
my dad was a tradesman, so that's what.
But my mom gave me like a sense of compassion that was incredibly powerful, and with the same mindset in mind, like it was just like, yeah, like you're gonna hit these speed bumps, you're gonna hit these walls. She would just say like absorb it, like don't try and avoid it, like actually like feel it, absorb it, and the more you can absorb it and do that and go through like your own emotions, like it just starts to make you stronger and technically more mentally capable.
Your mind becomes a still trap.
Yeah.
Like people can beat on you and it won't affect you.
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, okay, so like, for instance, I've had a couple clients in the last little while. I did some projects for them and they're like, well, this isn't the caliber that I thought it would be. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's not a hit at my ego. Let's figure this out. Well, turns out they wanted something completely different that I just wasn't communicating.
Right.
It was just communication. That's all it was. But if I wasn't able to have that Zoom meeting with them and go face to face, okay, guys, lay it on me, beat me up. I need to accept this. I need to see what's going on. I wouldn't have figured it out. It was just the communication. We changed some things around. And I sent them the product, and they loved it. It was just some different angles. It was different.
Even in relationships.
Yeah.
Like just regular, not even business, just like your personal relationships, like to be able to, for me, like I digest, like, so even at home, if sometimes we have to have, I won't say a hard conversation, but like, right, like you've got two people that are coming at it from two different viewpoints. Yeah. And I guess my favorite word in the last 2 years has been just emotional intelligence.
That's a good word, man.
And
it's powerful.
And maybe I guess that's 2 words,
but it's a good word though. I totally understand.
Just really focusing on emotional intelligence and being like, hey, you know, if you're in a situation and you feel like you have to react, it's like that's when you don't react. Like
take a breath.
Just be like, you know what? I'm going to take 24 hours to digest this information and vocalize that. Like you can say, hey, thanks for sharing that with me. I need some time now to just like let that stew. Let's talk about this again tomorrow. I can't tell you how much that's been like also an amazing tool in the toolbox to use personally and in work balance, to be able to just be like, I'm not going to just immediately go, like if something made you mad, or
because you don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because in the heat of a moment, you're not thinking, right? You're blind. Either you're blinded by rage, or you're blinded by like insecurity, or you're the fact that, because like I actually don't like confrontation. I don't like it at all. So like when someone comes at me with a problem, I always think like I'm being personally attacked. But I've grown a lot, and I'm going, okay, it's not you. It's just maybe something you didn't communicate, and I'm not a very good communicator. I'll be honest. Like my brain's moving Mach 1, man. I can't keep up with it. It's not an excuse. It's who I am.
Well, it's the creativity part, though.
Yeah,
that's what drives your creativity,
man. And sometimes it would. And then my mom was having this conversation with one of my friends, and he's like, I love how you're just you. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're not trying to be anyone else. You're just trying to be you. I was like, well, who else would I try to be? And I would fail miserably at the imposter syndrome, because me would eventually come flying out, because like I'm all over the map. I'm passionate. I'm loud. I do whatever I want. Like I'm moving Mach 1, and I love it though. Yeah. I love moving Mach 1, and I just love hanging with rad people and making rad shit, man. That's the definition of life.
It's on your body.
It's tattooed on my leg. It's legitly tattooed on my leg.
That's the memory. Say it again.
Hang with rad people, make rad shit.
I think that's the conversation of the day right here.
It's true, man. Because like these conversations are what influence us to like maybe like, oh, now we're switching in the mindset. Like me, I take a couple nuggets from you, take nuggets from me, and just like being around all of it and like collabing and making one massive collaboration of people. That's life. Like that's the definition of success. Waking up happy. So this is my definition of success, actually. Waking up happy, the rest is a bonus.
That's powerful.
Because if you're successful in being happy, anything is going to be great.
Yeah,
that day,
it
right?
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if it's monetary or any of it.
Exactly.
You wake up and it's a new day to have another chance at doing whatever you love.
Absolutely. And you own that, you own the world.
Yeah.
Like, because nothing will beat it.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I left the trades. I mean, I love the trades. I love working with my hands. I don't mind it. But I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
So I figured out, okay, so I'm going to retire in like 60 years and be miserable for 60 more fucking years and then retire for the 15. Like, it doesn't make sense.
No.
So I just wasn't happy. So I chased the happiness.
Good.
And I've never looked back once.
Yeah, and not being afraid. Yeah. Like, even from a business standpoint, I used to, I don't know how to word it, but I used to be, I don't know if upset's the right word, honestly, but I used to feel negatively if I couldn't convince someone of what I wanted to help them accomplish. Yeah. Because obviously it was still a transaction, right?
You beat yourself up.
Yeah, and I'd be like, I don't understand. Like, this person doesn't get it. Like, you know, and I kind of almost like would say it's their fault, right? It's their fault. It's their fault. And it's funny, again, like, this has all happened kind of in like the last 24 months for me. Just a huge change in my mentality.
That's awesome.
But like, now I have meetings and it's like same thing. It's like, hey, like, you know, here's what I'd like to do for you. At the end of the day, if we're not a good fit, no worries, man. And
that's just it, man. That's business, right?
But what I found, and again, maybe adding this as a tip to people, it's like, it's not that I don't care, but not 100% caring about completing that transaction in that moment or whatever.
Yeah. Went
from, I think, people essentially smelling desperation, even though I wasn't being desperate, but like it was like kind of like the blood in the water, right? Like they were sensing it, so therefore they controlled the situation, to flipping the script and being like, hey man, I want to help you, but like, if we're not good for each other, we're not good for each other. And then that's when people were like, wait a minute, like it was almost like because I didn't care about that component, or I came across as not again being desperate. Yeah. It was like, well, actually, yeah, I do want to work with you then. Just again, totally change the script for.
Well, and then here's a nice little quote here to woodworking. You're a woodworker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you beg for a seat at the table when you can build your own?
That's even better.
That's why would you can do it? Like, and I think everyone in society needs to figure this out, that like, we are all equals.
Yeah. So
I do a job for you, you do a job for me, or whatever. We're still just equally transacting. I'm not below you. You're not above me. I'm not above you. But lots of society deems us, especially marketing and photography. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're a bitch. Yeah. I was like, no. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't even be out in the world portraying how great work you do. Yeah. And I don't even say those things. Yeah. I'm just like, I can see the mentality in people. I'm just like, and as soon as I start to see like those little necks and knacks, I'm like, I'm not working with you. And I will gladly walk away from a huge job that pays me a ton of money if I don't respect the people I'm working for.
Well, that's actually really powerful, because it'll drain you.
It'll drain you and it'll make you feel like shit.
Yeah.
Because I've done it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh man, rent's due. I
gotta
figure that out.
Like,
okay, yeah, fine, I'll do this one shitty job, and then they're like, oh, get you another one. I'm like, oh, now I'm trapped. So it's like, okay, but I don't like working with you at all, and it's fine. Everyone doesn't match.
Yeah, right? No, it doesn't make them bad people. It's just they may not be a good fit for certain mentalities, certain the way that we look at the world and business and life and all that stuff. So, dude, I can't thank you enough, honestly, for coming and spending a little bit of time with me and sharing some of your views with everybody. And again, if anybody's watching, then hopefully they get to take away a few nuggets, as you put it, to help feed their own personal lives, business lives, entrepreneurial lives, you name it. And so here's hoping that we make a small contribution to the community and help them make a change.
Small tribes win wars, man.
I love that.
Yeah, man.
Cheers, buddy. Brother. That was awesome conversation. Man. I really appreciate it.
it.